Today we're announcing the Coalition Government's intention to extend port occupation permits for an extra 20 years. This will provide port operators with the certainty they need to continue their operations and activities. The introduction of the Resource Management Act in 1991 required ports to obtain coastal permits to continue their operations. Those permits were to last 35 years, meaning they are set to expire in 2026. Today we're taking action to extend these coastal permits for an extra 20 years. Since 1991, ports have evolved and expanded and have obtained new permits for these new activities. However, despite this, the process of gaining permits for pre-1991 activities has become increasingly difficult. This is yet another example of how the Resource Management Act has created unhelpful complexity and increased compliance costs for the New Zealand economy. Sorting this out is part of the government's plan to get New Zealand's economy back on track. It is also another example of why we're committed to amending the broken RMA. We intend that the proposed extension will be included in our second Resource Management Act amendment bill, which Minister Bishop will be leading later this year. Ports play a critically important role in our economy. They connect New Zealand with offshore, they generate jobs and support industries like fishing, tourism and our export industries. These permits are about providing certainty for our port sector so we can grow our economy, and also as part of our coalition arrangement and agreement with New Zealand First to ensure that we extend these coastal permits. So I'll pass over quickly to Minister Bishop and then we're happy to take any questions.
As many of you will know, we're conducting a reform of the Resource Management Act in 3 phases. Phase 1 was to repeal Labour's changes to the RMA, the National and Built Environment Act, which we did before Christmas under urgency very, very quickly. We're now in phase 2. We're introducing the fast track legislation bill to make it easier to get more renewable energy into our economy, make it easier to build more houses, a range of other things. We are also, as part of phase 2, making a series of targeted changes to the RMA, and this is one of those changes, consulting on extending port permits. As Minister Brown has said, this is about providing certainty, and we're happy to take your questions around that.
You will not silence us!
What were you hearing from ports that made this important, this change?
Well, I think what we've been hearing consistently has been that it's become harder and harder to be able to get these permits and more expensive. If you look at Tauranga, where they've been trying to do a berth extension, it's been many years, costing huge amounts of money, and they haven't been able to get that permit yet. This is nationally important, critical infrastructure, and we need to provide certainty. But look, it's for 20 years because we do expect these ports to be able to enter into the RMA once we've made these reforms that Christopher Bishop is talking about.
I was going to say, any comment for our friends back there?
Well, look, the simple reality is it's just become too hard to do things in this country. It's too hard to build a new wind farm, for example. Take the example of West Wind in Macra, which is a great wind farm near where I live. Took 2 years to build, took 8 years to get resource consent. It's become too hard to get houses built. It's one of the reasons why we have one of the most unaffordable housing markets in the developed world. It's become too hard to build roads and also public transport projects. The Eastern Busway out in Minister Brown's electorate and surrounds, I think was first talked about in 2000. It's still being built right now, and one of the reasons for that is our planning system just clogs everything up. So as the Prime Minister said, we need to move from an obstruction economy towards a can-do economy where we make it easier to do things. That doesn't mean getting rid of environmental protection. It means speeding up the process of the environmental conditions and permits that you need, and that's what the fast track bill is all about. And it's also partly what our targeted changes to the RMA are all about. Ultimately, of course, in the long term, we want to replace the RMA with a new regime based around property rights. A lot of work being done on that right now. But today is about these targeted changes that we're consulting on, because we do need to go out and talk to port companies and a range of other relevant stakeholders as well. So our intention is to get into that second RMA bill that we're looking at for later in the year.
For more content just like this and all the latest business and political news, head over to mbr.co.nz.